Hey there YouTube, it's Sergtino. And today we're going to be talking about the Baltimore regionals that just happened this weekend. This is the first regionals of North America for this season. It's also the last official tournament that has the format from Sword and Shield all the way to Pokemon Go. After this tournament, there's going to be a new set that introduced to the format, which will probably completely change the meta yet again. This tournament, just how a lot of the recent regionals have gone, has been huge. It had over 1,000 masters. And with that, today we're just going to be looking at day one. I'm going to be quickly summarizing all the matches that were shown on stream, a couple of my thoughts, and this is more for the people who just don't want to see the whole entire stream, want to watch all the videos, but still want to know what decks did well and what kind of strategies people used. So let's get into the games. Alright, I'm going to be playing the games 5 times speed just so we can get through the games much quicker and you can still see the major plays that were done. So the first game that we're going to be looking at is round number 3. They didn't stream round 1 and 2 just because I'm assuming the games are usually not such high level at this point. The first game we're going to be watching is the Arceus Pikachu deck. This deck won Worlds, so of course there's going to be many people bringing it to this tournament. Now, it's facing Mew VMAX, which it's kind of like a meta shift from Worlds, right? Many people are reacting what people saw at Worlds, and Mew just has a good matchup against many of the decks in that format. Now, the big weakness of Mew is the path to the peak. Definitely, you see Sam setting up. You just kind of have to have more energy on the Arceus. If he gets a double turbo, he can actually attack with Arceus this turn. While Mew is really limited, right? It depends a lot on this Genesect. Now, he copied Oricorio's attack just to kind of spread out the damage, saying that he can't really get the one-shot on the Pikachu. Arceus is going to do the damage there without having an item to boost Mew's attack. He won't be able to get the knockout this turn. It'll really push him behind a lot. And yeah, that's game 1. The path to peak just destroyed Steven, right? Mew really relies on getting the one shot. And if you don't, you're playing the 2-shot system with Arceus, you're always going to lose. Steven, though, plays it smart, realizing that you only have 50 minutes per match and you don't want to draw out the game and then later on don't have time for game 3. So here we go. Steven starting off, setting up just Genesect, knowing that at least for the first turn he'll be able to use the ability, maybe to set up. The Pokestop is the new stadium that Mew players are going to be playing now, just because these Mew decks run so many items that stadium really helps them get the items needed much quicker. The Pokestop and the Genesect also really work well with the Rotom Phone, because Rotom Phone you can put any one card on top of your deck and it's really easy to draw with the ability and the stadium there. So it's a good start, putting that energy on the bench Mew as well. So next turn you just need a evolution card. You'll be able to retreat and you should be able to knock out any 2 prizers on Sam's side. Sam is setting up. He's probably gonna attack with the Arceus, not V-Star. Yeah, just a normal Arceus, and set up a secondary attacker. Now, who's that gonna be? Oh, spreads out the energy on the Arceus or the Pikachu, just in case Steven bosses order any of the bench Pokemon up to the front. It gives him many options to attack next turn. Very smart by Sam. But Steven, just realizing that the Arceus is still a big threat, brings it up to the front and now knocks it out. Just that's Mew for you, right? Just one shot party, and you just keep drawing and drawing until you get those items that you need. Now I wonder who Sam is going to attack with this turn. Setting up the Moltres of the bench. Now, yeah, not likely to be able to set it up in one turn, just because you need quite a bit of things. You needed to drop it down, get one from the discard pile, maybe play a Raihan. I don't know if he plays one of those, and then attach a Dark Energy from hand. And yeah, Steven just notices that if that Moltres stays on the board, it gets an easy one shot on the Mew, so knocks it out as quick as possible. Yeah, this game is going really well for Steven. Sam, unfortunately, there. I mean, he didn't even get the V star last turn, so he didn't even get any damage on the Mew, which, like, this turn he would have been able to get a knockout. But unfortunately, he's so behind. I don't think there's anything that Sam can do. I mean, path to the peak. I mean, if there's any way you can, Amarni's there to make Steven redraw the cards, but no, realizes that maybe he didn't get an energy there or a secondary attacker, like maybe getting Mortis back to the bench, and just realizes, yeah, I can't handle the speed of Mew. So with that, we're going to be going to game 3. Really smart on Steven to concede the first game really quickly and really paid out, because now there's 20 minutes left to pay for game 3, and maybe there'll be enough time if Mew gets enough of his cards. Now we see there's Sam having 2 Pikachus prized. That might come into play, but I think Sam is just trying to set up a Moltres. These new Turbo Mews, they're different than the Mews that people ran before. There's no Meloetta, and there's no really way to attack first turn. So going second is actually a little bit hurtful for this new Mew decks. But it's just a setup, right? Like every single deck right now, it's hard to attack first turn. It's just usually setting up your bench, setting up and getting ready for the next turns after that. So I don't believe he got an energy on the Arceus. I'm not sure if there's an energy on the Arceus. If he didn't, he might be a little bit behind next turn to be able to use Arceus V-Star's attack. So that might hurt him. Those power tablets are really key in this matchup to get the one shot on the opposing Pokemon. Using it early on to lower your hand size so you can draw more cards might hurt Steven later on, especially because I saw one prized. You have to draw more cards. You have to get a second Mew in hand. You have to. There we go. VIP pass is so crucial in this deck. And Oricorio is really good there to lower the damage being taken and puts it active, making it harder for Sam to put any damage on those Mews. Very smart play by Steven. I'm assuming he definitely practiced this matchup a lot. Now Sam running that Bibarel. Of course, that draw engine is so powerful. Some people will run the Bibarel over the Jolteon line just because they prefer consistency over shutting off water abilities, and especially against Mew is much better. Yeah, so Sam actually took out the bench Mew with the energy, and I thought that wasn't going to be such a big play just because Steven should be able to draw out of that, get a second energy and attacker going on, but because of path to the peak, I think Steven is just stuck. Yeah, and that's it. That's game. Just realizing that he's not going to be able to draw what he needs to get out of this situation, and he just gets to behind. Past the peak is really the killer for these Mew decks. Definitely, if people were expecting a lot of Mews, they're going to be running a couple more than they used to. But yeah, that was match number 1. Arceus showing that this Mew that's supposed to beat this Arceus deck is maybe not good enough, especially with this pass to the peak. Very solid match 1. Now we're going to be going to the match number 2. It's going to be SAF Bradner versus Xander Perro. Now this is quite interesting matchup. I believe this is going to be a Palkia V versus a Dialga V, which crazy how these two Pokemon from the same generation actually are going to be facing each other. Both of these decks are good meta calls for the current meta. I think Azea's deck is more consistent, just two-shotting Pokemon, while Xander's deck is just building up for the V-Star attack that makes that Dialga be able to attack twice. I'm actually not sure who's favorable in this matchup. So yeah, let's see how we're going to play this. I mean, again, both players are just setting up there. Now, what I've usually seen is that if you don't get Metal Energy quick to your bench, those Metal decks usually take a little while to get attacking. So even with the metal saucers, like you have to get a couple of them to get an attack off. But manage to attach energy first turn, metal saucer this turn, and attach another energy this turn, able to attack and get those early to price cards with the Zazian V, which it's always been on and off. Used to be one of the best decks in the format, then it definitely died down with the power curves of the V stars and the V Max. But it's back. Once you have steel, it's always so consistent to put in. Just because the ability you're able to draw cards, maybe attach some energy on it, and it's really good. Now Isaiah just counter punch it back, getting that Dialga with the energy off the field, knowing that he's able to get a one shot before it evolves much easier. He could have definitely gotten a one shot on Zazian, but realizes that Dialga is a bigger threat. But the problem with that is that Xander is now with a fully set up attacker, right? So now it's able to put easy damage on the Palkia. The problem with Zazian is that it can't hit the numbers to one-shot the Palkia, but it kind of sets it up so that Dialga, if he ever able to get the 2-turn attack, it will be able to get 4 prize cards in 1 turn. So Isaiah is trying to figure out what to do. Now has 2 fully set up Palkia. I don't believe that setting up a Greninja might be useful here, but yeah, you never know. So Isaiah running the Path to Peak again worked really well against the Mew decks, and decks like these that maybe shuts down the Greninja, the Zazian, but Xander probably holding the counter stadium in his hand and just waiting for the Path to Peak to drop and bringing down the stadium that blocks the attack of any special energy. Now Xander there realizes that he's way too behind, not able to set up a second attacker, right? That's the problem with these metal decks. If you don't get those metal saucers, it relies so heavy on those metal saucers. He wasn't able to set up a Dialga and realizes that he's way behind in the board state. And it might have not seemed like a lot of time passes, but since I'm playing this really fast, actually 20 minutes pass by and Xander realizes if I have any chance of getting to game 3, I'm just gonna cut it short early and go into game 2. This lets Xander go first again, and hopefully has a better chance to set up quicker. Xander uses Zazian's ability, not able to get any energy on that Zazian, which might hurt him because he ended up attaching the 1 energy to that Dialga rather than the Zazian this time. So that might hurt him later on. Isaiah going through the motions, just getting 2 energy on hand, using Greninjas to draw twice, using Irida, VIP pass. I mean, especially from Worlds, we have seen a lot of Palkia decks and we kind of know how these decks play. What I find it quite interesting is that he really went heavy on the Palkia, realizing that if some miracle Xander gets a lot of Dialga, a lot of energy on the Dialga, he might be able to use the V-Star attack and might be able to knock out 2 Palkias. Isaiah having this in mind, bench 3 Palkias rather than maybe another Sabo or leaving that Greninja on the bench. Now Xander there putting some damage on the Palkia. Definitely would have wanted to see another energy, attached it to that active Dialga, maybe to set up a potential 2-shot. Xander seems really behind. We'll probably need many cards to turn this around. So he's spreading his energy out throughout his Pokemon, realizing that maybe the active Pokemon could be knocked out, but not just that, the other Pokemon could be knocked out as well. So spreading it out, having different options for next turn. Yeah, Isaiah is just getting everything he wants there, being able to get a knockout there. Oh wow, Xander with the triple metal saucer play. Oh, he's gonna be able to use that Dialga's V-Star attack, be able to attack twice, and potentially get 4 prize cards. This is going to turn the match completely around. Now, if he's able to get... Whoa. If he's... Oh, he took 1 prize card, 1 knockout there, and left the Palkia with the 1 energy active, knocks that out, took 4 prize cards, and that is game. Realizing that even if the Palkia went active and knocked out that Dialga, it wouldn't be good enough because the Zazian would have been able to do a return knockout. Oh, these metal decks, once it gets in metal saucers, just can create some crazy plays. But unfortunately, it relies so heavy on these metal saucers, and that's what makes these decks inconsistent at times. Now we're going into game 3. I think starting off with only like 8 minutes, it's gonna be a little bit difficult to get a win in this situation. Now Xander was able to set up a full Dialga turn 3, I think. And if he's able to do that again, he actually has a chance of winning this again. If it's going to Azea, I'm pretty sure Xander will be able to stall long enough. Not stall, but like having a Pokemon that I don't think Azea will be able to take all 3 knockouts necessary. Very interesting. Xander puts that energy on the bench Greninja. This Mew is probably going to be knocked out. Well, I guess not. But if it was, then he wouldn't be able to put that Greninja active and then retreat with it later on. Now, Azea putting that Path to the Peak will definitely slow down Xander if he was thinking of using Greninja's ability or Zazian again. But just like that, able to counter Stadium yet again. That Mew is so strong. Be able to get an item card for the top 6 cards, just very strong. I mean, the problem with it is just getting it out of the active spot, but many people are playing, like you see there, Escape Rope, Scoop Up Net, and just an air balloon would do the job. Got 2 more energy on the bench Dialga, but it's not enough, right? Just to get the V-Star attack off, you need 5 energy, and until you're able to set that up, you shouldn't be attacking with it. And with that, we got match number 2. Unfortunately, it ended in a draw, but both decks kind of showing their strong points, showing how potentially they could beat the opposing deck. But times it's so hard, especially with these Palkia decks. They take so long to set up, and unfortunately both of them finished with a draw. Now we're going to match number 3, Andrew Estrada versus Mike. Andrew Estrada, former world champ, and one of Canada's best ever players. Made it to top 8 in Worlds running a Palkia V-Star deck. And again, if he did so well at Worlds, why not bring it back? I'm assuming he made a couple tweaks just for the meta change, but hopefully he'll be able to win or do well in this tournament as well. Mike seems to be playing this Charizard deck. That the idea is just maybe let the opponent take a couple knockouts and then be able to set up that Charizard and then start taking big knockouts every single turn. Some of these decks run like different attackers as well, just because you have the ability of maybe running other than just fire energy, maybe water or dark energy depending on meta, or some people just prefer that consistent Charizard that later on, once the opponent gets a couple knockouts, it'll be attacking Charizard every single turn. Andrew Estrada knocking out that Snorlax. Mike, all he did that turn was just evolve, get cards he needs into his hand, and again, just kind of waits that Andrew takes the knockouts necessary for him to set up his Charizard. For the people that don't know, that Charizard is able, his Charizard's attack uses 5 fire energy to attack. which is quite heavy, but has the ability that for every price card the opponent has taken, the attack costs one less. So as Andrew takes a couple more price cards, it'll be much easier to set up a Charizard in one turn. Andrew realizes that Mike grabbed a lot of cards into his hand and just marnied all of them away. Right, he's not just thinking about like, oh, maybe I can take a knockout now. He's also thinking about the future turns. Can't let Mike fully set up once he needs that Charizard. After Andrew's taking 2 price cards, maybe he'll be able to set up a Charizard. So we might be able to see one this turn. Nope. Mike still needs Andrew to take 1 more price card to fully set up the Charizard next turn. Seeing the board state, Mike realizes that even if I get Charizard next turn, maybe he won't be able to get Charizard next turn. I'm not sure. But he just realized that Andrew just set up too well, and maybe that Barney really got rid of a lot of cards in his hand that he needed, and just realizes I'm not going to be able to win this turn. Andrew just fully set up to take the next 3 price cards. So Mike concedes and goes to game number 2. That game did take 20 minutes, so if there will be another 20-minute game here, it will be hard to finish at game 3. So I think one of the changes in Andrew's deck list is that he's running 2 VIP passes. He might want it a little bit more speed, even though it might be a little bit more consistent later on, and just running those VIP passes. Now Mike there, getting that Menifee into the bench. A potential play that Andrew could do is set up a Greninja later on and take 2 easy price cards. So Mike really stopping that idea and not letting him do that. Again, Andrew's doing what Palkia does and just Capacious Bucket, use Greninja's ability, set up a Palkia, and just attack. Now, one of the big changes that Mike did here is that he's now attacking earlier on, able to set up that Greninja, that Italian, and able to get a knockout. So now I think the idea of Mike is that if he gets a couple of early knockouts, and then he's just gonna be needed to take 2 attackers with Charizard, that's how he's gonna win. Andrew using that Power Pod, getting the Marnie into the deck. Marnie really helped him win game 1, so maybe you'll be able to help him win game 2. Andrew very smart benching that Menifee there, realizing that a couple more snipes into the Palkia makes it much easier for a Charizard in the future to knock out the Palkia, right? Because Charizard does 250 damage, and it will require a choice band to knock out the Palkia, but without that choice band, it would be a little bit harder. As you can see there, Charizard is coming into play using that double energy plus a fire energy to quickly set up and take a knockout on the Palkia. Now, Andrew is a little bit in the back foot here. Oh, and one of the biggest changes is the Big Charm. We definitely did not see that Worlds in any of the big decks. Many people will probably be running this Charizard because it did quite well Worlds, and he's like, nah. I'm going to make it much more difficult for a Charizard to knock it out. I wonder if Mike is running that Tool Scrapper to get rid of that Big Charm. If not, he won't be able to take 2 price cards off that Palkia. Now, Andrew's decision here is, do I bench a Palkia V, right, to have a potential attacker next turn? If I do, it'll leave me open for a one shot for a Charizard. But if I don't, it's going to be really difficult for Mike to take 2 price cards this turn. We're all tied up at 3-3 price cards. Now, Mike is probably made this deck that he's going to be able to get out this Charizard into the field again. Oh, and he runs that Tool Scrapper. So necessary. Probably thinking about other tools, but it came so handy in this. Able to get the knockout for this Palkia. And then what is Andrew going to do? He puts that Greninja up. Even if he knocks out his Charizard, probably another Charizard is going to come out, and he's going to be able to knock out anything. There's canceling Cologne there. that is shown on the board. If Andrew runs this, he's gonna be able to take 2 prize cards. Oh, he definitely runs this because it stops that Metaphy's ability. But all he can hope is that Mike won't be able to set up another charge the next turn, which these decks are made for this. So he made it really difficult, made Path to the Peak. Oh, he doesn't knock out that Charizard. Kind of just thinking that good luck retreating. Oh, the big problem is Path to the Peak. Because if Charizard doesn't have the ability there, he won't be able to attack because the ability is what lets him attack with less energy. Mike tried to buy another turn, but Andrew had the cards necessary to retreat and win that game. With that, winning 2-0 right before time finishes and taking up this match. And with that, we're going to keep moving on. We're going to be seeing John versus Grant here. It's going to be an Arceus deck, but not just any Arceus. It's going to be Arceus Duraludon versus Grant's another Mew VMAX. This Duraludon decks are just meant to just set up 2 Duraludons on a bench, 1 Arceus active, and that's it. Making the 2 prize cards from the Arceus kind of useless there, because you're still going to have to take the 6 prize cards from the Duraludon. Grant doing what Mew does and just setting up the full bench, putting the Oricorio, making it much more difficult for the Arceus to get a one-shot on the Mew V. Also playing the Escape Rope made it much more difficult to retreat the Duraludon later on. But with the Starbirth ability from Arceus, it just makes it much easier to get the cards necessary. He's able to retreat and he's able to set up one of the bench Duraludons. Now I wonder what approach Grant is going to do here. He can just knock out these Arceus, but like I said, sometimes not the best, because you still have to take 6 prize cards and the 2 knockouts of the big Duraludons. So he did, I believe, the smart decision and put some damage on the Duraludon that doesn't have any energy, making it harder to retreat later on and ideally be able to take the 3 prize cards without taking any damage in return. And yeah, it seemed to work out. John just drew and passed. Not able to retreat, just like you need the cards necessary, and already using the Starbirth ability the previous turn, very hard to get cards that you need. This Arceus Duraludon deck is quite different than other decks right now, just because it doesn't have any other Pokemon to help them draw out. Wasn't able to get a Escape Rope or a Switch using the Pokestop, so this first Duraludon VMAX is gonna be knocked out. It took 3 shots from this Mew, just showing how difficult it is to knock out. John finally starts putting pressure on this active Mew. Very interesting. Grant deciding to take ideally the knockout on the bench Arceus. Oh, and Mew VMAX using Mew V's attack that's able to remove all the damage and put the cards back into hand. Very strong play. John just able to take a 1 prize knockout. Still not a horrible position. Still has a chance of winning, just because, again, Grant might need to knock out that Duraludon. Grant taking 2 more prize cards. Oh, maybe not yet. Maybe there's a slight misunderstanding there. Power Tablet. Now takes the 2 prize cards. Now let's see what Grant has in play. 3 Power Tablets right there. Is that going to be enough to get a knockout? I don't think so. If not, they wouldn't be playing. Oh, and the horn, with able to take the Arceus to the active spot and takes the last prize card. Very smart by Grant, playing the echoing horn, realizing that sometimes playing against these big VMAX decks, it's going to be hard to knock out 2 of them, because that's what this deck is built to do. Now Grant is just trying to hope that the same thing happened this turn. John doesn't get the early switch, able to retreat the heavy Duraldudon. But let's see what happens here. John was able to get the one energy attachment to the Arceus, very crucial. Next turn, he's just going to be able to evolve, get the cards that he needs, and start setting up this big Duraldudon VMAXs. Leaves Oricorio active, realizing that it's probably unlikely that John will be able to get a 2-prizer this turn. But with an escape rope, able to put crucial damage to the Mew V-Star. Again, Oricorio preventing enough damage that the Arceus won't be able to take the one-shot on the Mew V. Grant playing an opposing escape rope. Quite interesting. Again, putting the early pressure on that Duraldudon, putting the early damage counters, and potentially getting 3 prize cards next turn. But it is quite interesting because we are kind of playing like a 2-shot game, and John was able to put the first damage counters on the board, so might put Grant in a little bit of a back foot, but just Grant's deck is so consistent. Oh, and actually was able to take 2 knockouts. Oh, right, because that Duraldudon wasn't evolved yet, so it just needed a power tablet, maybe even that, to get the knockout. So very, very strong play using the escape rope before the Duraldudons were able to evolve. This makes the math a little bit interesting because a play that Grant can actually potentially go with is knock out the active Arceus and then do the same play that he did last turn, that just use the Echoing Horn to get the Arceus or Duraldudon into the bench, able to bring it active and knock it out, and that's how he maps out all 6 prize cards. So he doesn't have to take the knockout on this big Duraldudon VMAX. Now John is able to take 3 prize cards here, and this Mew already has damage on it, which what probably will happen is that what you kind of have to do is use Mew VMAX to attack with Mew V's attack to put all the cards back into his hand. But the problem is that if John gets the cards necessary to knock out the bench Mew, Grant won't have an attacker next turn. Oh, very interesting. Grant deciding to just think that that Duraldudon won't be able to retreat, putting the damage on that bench Arceus V-Star and having a knockout next turn. I think a little bit more riskier, but realizing that if John had the cards and knocked out the bench Mew V, he wouldn't have an attacker next turn anyway, so I guess he's just playing his outs, realizing that it's very difficult for this deck to retreat. Grant was able to use actually Mew V's attack to get a knockout, getting rid of all the damage counters on the board. But the Bossasaur was able to knock out that Mew V. So a potential play here is the time ran out, and if Grant is able to stall long enough and John not be able to retreat or get the energy, there's a chance that Grant just wins because 3 turns have passed. He's able to retreat, but attacking wouldn't get the knockout, and with that, Mew VMAX winning that match. Now we're going to round number 7. Moving quickly along these games, it's going to be Azul versus Joshua. Azul complete changing the deck that he was playing at Worlds and playing this Mewtwo V Union deck. It's going to be a much more controlled deck, which the idea is to just kind of let Joshua take the prize cards, and Azul is just going to use his cards to lower Joshua's deck as much as possible, get rid of the energy on board with crushing hammers and supporters, and just has the V Union in the discard pile ready. So when Joshua has taken almost all his prize cards, he's just gonna set up the V Union and stopping himself being knocked out, and then Joshua just eventually decking out. Zul's deck is really made that he was able to put cards from his discard pile back to his deck, so ideally he would never be able to deck out himself. He also has this Evotal to do a little bit of damage here and there. I guess this Evotal would be good against the Mew matchups. What this Evotal does is that it discards special energy for opposing Pokemon. Again, beats the Mew VMAXs but in a separate way, just because Mew VMAX just runs 4 special energy, and these Evotals will be able to get rid of those way before Mew will be able to take enough prize cards. A lot of the decks are running special energy like the RCS to quickly set up. So if you're running that Evotal plus Crushing Hammers, you can potentially get rid of a lot of cards on the board. Now Azul is also running a couple of supporters to be able to get those Crushing Hammers back to the deck as well. So there's a lot of control in this deck that he'll be able to do depending on the matchup. Very strong deck once he gets his cards. So I wonder if this Arceus will be able to beat this V Union deck. Now the big problem with this V Union deck is that it takes a while to set up, and it kind of relies on the opponent's speed, how quickly they take all the prize cards. And issue is here that it'll be difficult to play out 3 games. So you definitely have to make sure you have enough control to take that game 1. Now Joshua able to go down to his last prize card. This is when Azul potentially is able to do his magic. We're going to be showing the really true strengths of this V Union deck. Scooping up that deck, and I believe he also tried to get rid of all the basic Pokemon from his discard pile. So like an Echoing Horn wouldn't be able to hurt him there either. And yeah, this V Union is going to start healing. And the problem with Joshua's board is that there's no way that he'll be able to get a one-shot against the V Union. Now, what kind of Joshua hopes for is that Azul kind of runs out of resources, and this Silene supporter rolls 2 dice, and for each head puts a card from a discard pile to the deck. And if you start rolling tails on those, you can actually potentially deck out. So that could be a little bit scary there. But as we can see, their time is going down quickly, and Azul is getting those heads, having pile pots to put those Silenes back into his deck. So he definitely has this way to be able to always get cards back into his deck. Puts a couple of Crushing Hammers there just to make it even more difficult to Joshua to attack. And if for some reason Joshua doesn't attack, then this Mewtwo V Union actually doesn't just have to heal. It can actually use a different attack to start taking knockouts themselves. Joshua's really struggling here. Thinking that like just attack pass. But Azul has this control going. Getting 2 heads there, very crucial. Getting tails on the Crushing Hammers. Joshua got a little bit lucky there. I don't know how many turns he would have been able to attack if the Crushing Hammers didn't hit. Now the damage is adding up, but Azul running the cook to get rid of the damage necessary, realizing that he has enough resources for Joshua not be able to take the one-shot knockout. That cook, very powerful, just healing 70, which in these days is actually not that much damage, but in this control deck, it's just a perfect amount of damage. Now Azul a couple times almost running out of cards from his deck, but is able to get cards in there, getting those crucial heads Double head? Oh, yeah, just one head there. Getting a power pad. Oh, that's all he needs. I think if he got in the tails there, I don't know if he had the cards to get cards back into his deck. Like it kind of relies on getting heads with Silene. I mean, the Pika McQ also kind of helps because you kind of put the card back into the deck and draws another card. And Joshua just running out of cards. Running out of cards. I think he counted there how many cards he's had. Most decks these days only run like one Marnie, so I don't even think there's a way. Yeah, and that is game. I don't think there was a way for Joshua to shuffle his hand back into his deck, which if he did, right, if he saved the Marnie for a late game, then that could have really hurt Azul, and that would have gone to a draw, definitely. Very strong control deck right there by Azul, showing that the meta slightly changed, and him showing that he is able to adapt to that. Now Joshua scooping, playing cards, but like you see the timer going down. Azul, that game for game one almost took 45 minutes, I think. Just definitely not enough time to play game two, and Azul will be taking this match and this round 7. Wow, wow, wow. Now we're actually going to be going to the last match of the day. Round number 8. This Italian V-Star slash V-Max, I believe, versus Mew V-Max. Again, a lot of Mews today. A lot of Mews. Definitely a meta change. There are 9 rounds in this day 1, but Pokemon only streamed 6 of them. We're kind of seeing again this Mew deck just quickly setting up. I'm not sure if this Mew deck will actually be able to keep playing once the new set comes out. But yeah, it's just kind of routine. Get the Genesect down, the more the merrier. Attaching the 1 energy, that's crucial for turn 1, just because it's always good. And this Mew is just running havoc here. Now, ideally, he'll be able to knock out that bench Italian. Benjamin only able to get 1 Italian on the bench, which could really hurt him here. This Italian deck, quite interesting. We definitely haven't seen it in, I think, competitively, like doing really well, just because it's not hitting those nice numbers that you want. You know, if you can build around it, he has like I think 4 different types of Italians in his deck, so it's quite interesting concept, quite cool. But yeah, Joe is just going in, able to get the Italian active and getting those 2 prize cards. Now he's not rushing to take those prize cards. He's actually make sure that he uses all the Genesect's abilities, getting as many cards to his hand, getting rid of cards that he doesn't need for the future for this matchup, and not thinking about just this turn, but every future turn. He's able to bench 2 Italians, but he's going to be quite behind. I mean, he didn't get an attack this turn, so even if he gets an attack next turn, I don't think he'll be able to come back from this position. I really wish to see this Italian maybe versus an Arceus deck or a Palkia deck, which is probably what Benjamin have been facing to get all the way to 5-1-1. But this matchup really, really bad for him. Now, got the Italian V-Max there. I believe the idea is that he won't be able to one-shot it because he will just get the double energy, the double rapid energy back into his hand, tearing off all the damage that he takes his turn, and then put it back and keep attacking, right? Keep doing that. I think that's the idea of this deck. Now, problem is that he did bench that Italian, and easy 2 prize cards to Joe to take. Joe realizing he's a very favorable position, and it's going to be hard for Benjamin to turn it around. Now, very interesting idea is that Benjamin decided to go second. You would think that against Mew, you actually want to go first just to hopefully be able to just set up an Italian in the bench. get like an energy on it and start getting attackers from turn 2. But maybe he realizes that it's actually quite difficult in his deck, that he actually relies on attacking with a Sabo turn 1 to set up his bench. But I don't know. I feel like giving that Mew the turn 1 really hurt him last game. And yeah, Joe fully set up again turn 2. Now another interesting thing is that Benjamin decided to go for 2 Sabos and 1 Intillion rather than 2 Intillion and 1 Sabo. So if Joe gets the cards he needs, he's gonna be able to take this knockout on the Intillion, and Benjamin won't have an attacker for next turn. And he does. Yeah, I believe that he got the cards that he needed. Those cross switchers really strong, because now you just need a cross switcher or a boss's orders, and he would have gotten that knockout. I don't know. I think it might have been a misplay not benching 2 Intillion there, because what you do now, you're not going to be able to get an attacker off this turn. Now Benjamin finally able to get those 2 Intillion. Very similar to last turn. If he's able to get an attack off, and if Joe hopefully doesn't get all the cards that he needs and get 2 practicals this turn, then maybe there's a small chance, but he just needs a boss's order. Oh, but he uses a Marnie, so chances are definitely lower here. Now you say Cramomatic, and got those 2 cross switchers. Oh man, this is brutal to see. I wonder if he got a Tales on that, if he had another way out to get that second cross switcher, but gets that heads, and this Mew is just so crazy good. Now the big change from this game compared to the first game is that there's no Luminion on the bench. Hopefully Benjamin will be able to start attacking with Intillion and getting rid of all the damage counters on him next turn. But it kind of seems like he whiffed on the energy. Quite unfortunate. Joe realizing that maybe I don't have to take the one shot on the Intillion VMAX. Just boss this order, one of the 1 prizers there, and puts in a really good position to just maybe boss orders another one. I don't know how many boss orders he run. He already used up 2 cross switchers and a boss order there, so I'm not sure if he's gonna be able to knock out another bench Pokemon like that. And with that, Joe gets another boss's order, knocks out another single prizer, and this deck, this Benjamin deck could just not deal with the speed of Mew VMAX. And with that, those were all the different games that we saw from day 1 of the Baltimore regionals from the Pokemon stream. Day 2 will be posted later on, and we'll look at what deck actually ended up winning this whole entire tournament. Click the like button if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and thanks for watching.